All right, let's continue the conversation on some of these challenges across the provinces with Mugwena Maluleke, who is the General Secretary of the South African Democratic Teachers Union, or SADTU. A very good evening to you, Mr. Maluleke, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Compliments of the season to you. As you may have heard through the various reports from our provinces, the challenges that are faced by various schools, schooling districts. I'd like to start with Mpumalanga and the infrastructure problems, and then we'll go through the other issues. But the Portfolio Committee on Basic Education actually conducted an oversight, a week-long oversight visit there to Mpumalanga, various schools in the Bushbuck Ridge local municipality around August. But I'm just wondering, what was the outcome of that if those issues are still being brought up now at the beginning of the year by parents?
So let me greet you and greet your viewers at home, and thank you, and also the compliments of the new season. We are also concerned indeed about the fact that when the Portfolio Committee visits these particular areas, they do raise these issues, and therefore they give some deadlines about the issue of completion of the infrastructure that has been damaged by the storm, or any other infrastructure that might have been vandalized, because these are the things that as parliamentarians, they have a responsibility to do an oversight about these particular issues. Now, the problem that we're faced with in our country, and which the department doesn't want to accept, is the fact that we may be told that the contractors are on site. The issue here is that it takes so much time for them to be able to identify contractors that would have got to go and repair the school. We have moved away from the issue that we have got the Department of Public Works, which was supposed to be the one that deals with these particular issues, without having to go to the tenders and all those particular things, because they were supposed to employ people with skills to be able to attend to this. This is what was happening in the past, and we didn't have this crisis that we are experiencing, because the tenderization of the state is the cause of the problem, because people are still looking around to then say, who has got to go this tender? Somebody else from a national or in the parliament wants that particular tender and sends them their people. So corruption is the problem here. Let's face it. Is the problem why we are not able to attend to infrastructure on time.
Is it the same when the schools in Mpumalanga continue also to complain about the shortage of textbooks, maths and science teachers, lack of resources in terms of science computers and sports facilities? I mean, there was a school for children with physical and intellectual disabilities in Ekenhoek. They've been complaining about lack of accommodation, but saying that there are some of their students who actually have to travel 190 kilometers to and from to school every day. Some of these problems just sound somewhat ridiculous to me.
They are very ridiculous, I must agree with you, because these are the things that we know. And obviously, if I were to go back and say, this is the problem that we are facing, and we can't always be accepting these particular reasons that, no, look, we've prioritized this is what we're going to be doing, because the issue we're facing is that they know about these things. And we shouldn't be told now in January or in December that they are attending to the problem. These particular problems are there throughout of the year. They have been there. So issues of stationery, issues of learners with disabilities. This is quite worrying. It is really a problem when we live in a situation where we continue to want to say those who have designed the value or really design the value of that particular black child must remain in that particular situation, that particular child has got no value. The life and the future of that particular child has got no value. Because let's face it, which schools are experiencing a problem in terms of, one, pit latrines in Mpumalanga or Limpopo, two, in terms of the infrastructure that is dilapidated, the infrastructure that is not being maintained. It is a school in the rural area. It is a school in the township that is experiencing such problem. And these basically are perpetuating the legacy of apartheid that has designed value and designated opportunities for others and not others. And therefore, we cannot allow a situation where the government of the people, by the people, also decide to then say, look, it is fine for a black child not to have a toilet. It is fine for a black child to go to school on the 11th and there are no books. It is fine for an African child in the township or a rural area that is that. So the so-called half a loaf is better than nothing. That is the mentality that is ruling in the Department of Education.
I'd like to pick up from your statement on the legacy of apartheid, just listening to my colleagues reporting on the situation at Dr. Block School in Bloemfontein. You know, just reflecting back, that was a time in our history as black communities where we were fighting against Afrikaans as the main medium of instruction. At this particular school in Dr. Block, they're complaining about the fact that their children are not being taught in Afrikaans, even though they are the community that's around the school, that they can't get placements for their children there. Are you familiar with the story? What does SADTU have to say about such issues? Obviously, we do want to minimize the inconvenience that a child has to travel for at least good quality learning. But, you know, this thing that you are saying that you want Afrikaans to be the main medium of instruction at this particular school, how does the system balance these competing priorities?
Well, the system is designed in such a way that it has to balance that, because the school governing body has to decide in terms of the language of instruction, but therefore they have got to also look at the demographics of that particular school and then decide on whether, as the parents of that particular school, together with the school governing bodies, they would have what would have a multilingual setup, where then they would have Afrikaans and also they have got English or Sesotho as the medium of instruction. So they don't have to be discriminating any other child on the basis of language, because that is the law, and the systems are in place to ensure that no learner is denied the opportunity to learn in their own mother tongue. So if the mother tongue there predominantly is Afrikaans, you cannot therefore deny those particular learners, unless if the demand is that we don't want to accept any other learner who does not speak Afrikaans. That would be discrimination, and therefore it has got to be attended immediately, because we shouldn't allow racism in our schools or in our society, because it is unconstitutional, and therefore it has got to be dealt with as a matter of urgency. So the demands of the parents, if they are there, those particular demands must be listened to, and therefore appropriate measures must be taken to ensure that those particular learners are being taught in the mother tongue. Obviously, South Africa has prioritized Afrikaans and English for a very long time, and African languages have not been prioritized, and that is what we also have got to attend to. But Afrikaans must not be used as an exclusion.
Just a final question, and it's in tandem. We're talking about a transformative society, and in this transition, we are implementing various changes. One is the quintile schools, where I was just looking at the case of Limpopo, where no fee schools are being asked for upfront payments by the schools. Parents obviously complaining about that. We have the situation in Gauteng that we mentioned earlier on about the online system that seemingly is not helping parents of learners who want to get their children's place, grade 1 and grade 8. Are we getting it right, this democratic transition and the various tools we are using to implement?
Whilst we might have had progress in terms of the transformation of education in our country, we still are, visited by unfortunate incidents of Malamulele Secondary School, where the principal or the school governing body is really acting unlawfully, because the school is a no school fee school, and therefore they're not supposed to be demanding any money from there, and therefore the school governing body must take responsibility for that. Be cool, demonstrating, because it also sends a wrong message to our children that as parents we cannot be able to resolve our issues in a very civil way and find a solution. Secondly, it is that what has happened in other areas where such issues are also appearing, it is that we need to ensure that we respect time, we plan, and so that we are able to resolve the issues on time, because they have got an impact on the school year. So this transition, but we also work with speed, because we cannot being visited by old problems every day.
I'm afraid we're going to have to end it there because of the deteriorating quality of our connection, and understandably load shedding. The stage has been increased again. Thank you so much for speaking to us, though, Mugwena Maluleke, SADTU's General Secretary, just speaking to us about the various challenges being experienced by schools in various provinces.